Kim and Dooley. We own O'Doul's Dairy Goats in Orfordville, so on the west side of Janesville. We have about 1,000 goats. We milk twice a day. My husband's been doing it since 1998, and then I came in the picture he's been doing it since 1995, and I came in the picture in 1999. So, I'm a city girl, and I don't know what I was thinking. Obviously, the focus on our farm is the goats and the milk, because all of our milk gets picked up and taken to Montchevre cheese plant. But we also I have my 2 horses, because I have to have my 2 horses. But then we have, we probably have 8 steers and 11 cows. We've got chickens and a donkey and, kids and all that stuff. So, yeah, we kind of have a diverse farm, for sure.
Thanks. My name is Kasten-Olson. My husband and I operate, our brand name is Little Farmer Meats. So we've always been kind of raising pigs, beef, chickens for family and friends. We've done it, for a long time, but 5-6 years ago we officially branded it after my son was born. And wanting to be able to pass something down. We always thought we'd be dairy farmers. We both grew up on dairy farms and Brown Swiss dairy farms, so we're pretty stubborn. So we thought we're going to be dairy farmers, but when we decided that wasn't for us, we decided, what can we do to, diversify, still raise them on a farm. So decided to brand and direct markets. Most of my marketing experience comes from my time at Sassy Cow Creamery. I graduated from UW-Madison, and then I started at Sassy Cow Creamery out of college, and I was a sales and marketing manager for 12 years. So sales, marketing, chaos, I did a little of everything there. So, and then once I left there the last year and a half, I've been at the Wisconsin Department of Agriculture, and I lead a team of economic development specialists. So do dairy, livestock and meat, farm to school, organic grazing, specialty crop, all those areas. So my day job is working with people like us that want to direct market, and my weekend and nighttime job is also that. So looking forward to being on the panel and learning more from everyone. So
it's kind of funny how your 9 to 5 becomes your 5 to 9, right?
Yeah.
So let's sort of start at the beginning. So how did you guys get started, and where did the ideas come from for your businesses that you have, and how did you grow it?
Yours is probably more interesting than mine. But
like I mentioned, we had always kind of just raised a few steers here and there and a few pigs for us to fill our freezer, and chickens and eggs and a little bit of everything. And so it was always just a fun project for us. And then, like I mentioned, my oldest will be 6 this weekend, and so it was kind of, what can we do to kind of raise them on a farm? We're not going to milk cows, we're not going to have a dairy farm. How can we keep farming, have something to pass to them? And so that was like, well, my day job is already direct marketing, we do milk and ice cream there, and kind of thought, oh, this would be a fun little project. And so branded the Little Farmer Meats, went through that whole process, and every year it's kind of steadily grown, and still my night and weekend job, but the nights just get a little longer and a little crazier. Obviously the pandemic made that trend a little bit more accelerated. So, and then I did bring along an article. The Furrow magazine came out and did an article that just came out in September, and it just talks about, how we got started and wanting to pass something to our kids. So I have that, and I can share that as well. So the article does a much better job of sharing the story than I do. So.
So I guess my story starts when I met my husband. I didn't think I would ever be out in the country, but once you meet the guy, and anyway. But once we got going, my grandparents lived on a farm, and I knew what farming was like. I wasn't just a city girl, but I really started loving it. And then when we met, I had two little kids, 2 and 3 years old, when my husband and I met, and they absolutely just took to the country. So, as time went on and we got married and everything, I still work. The only thing that I've really ever done is really travel. I work in the travel industry, and now I farm. So I continued to work when we got married, and we just had this conversation, as women, I guess this is not answering exactly your question yet, but as women, when we got married, obviously he went on my insurance, and that's a big thing, because that's what he does, is farm all the time. And same with her husband too, you feel like a responsibility, and then your kids are on your insurance, so then I just stayed working, But as time goes on, what I figured, we're on a farm, and we have all these goats. We should probably do something with the goat milk, right? Well, all the goat milk goes for cheese. Most Chevrolet now is bought out by Saputo, but they make goat cheese. They pick it up every other day, just like a regular dairy. We milk 450 out of the 1,000. And so anyway, I actually had my cousin came home from Washington State, and she taught me how to make soap one day, and I said, do you make it with goat milk? And she said, never done that. She said, but I'll show you how to make soap. And I'm like, all right. So then me and my husband learned that without the goat milk. And then over time, I've ruined a lot of batches of soap at the beginning. But then we figured it all out. So I've been at the Beloit Farmers Market for, I think, 13 years, but I've been making soap for 20 years. So I just started thinking, why am I not doing something? So I started baking with it, just for my family. Another thing that I really got me into the research of why goat milk is so good for you, I don't do it for huge profit by any means. What I do it for is because it's so good for us. And once you start reading about that, and again, I'm pretty partial because I live on a dairy goat farm. That's what we do. But it's so good for you. And our son, when our youngest was born, he had acid reflux so bad. And after 2 weeks of him just screaming, it didn't matter if it was breast milk, if it was soy milk, they put him on rice milk, they did all of this stuff. They took him to Madison, they put him on this adult medicine for acid reflux. And that lasted about 24 hours, and I thought, there is no way. He is 2 weeks old, and he weighs 9 pounds, maybe at the most 8 pounds. And so I just stopped going to the doctor, and I know I probably shouldn't say this, but I pasteurized the goat milk, and within 4 days, we call it his, what does he call it? His something energy milk or whatever now, and he still drinks it once in a while. But the goat milk, that stunned me because I had read so much about it after he was born. I mean, books and everything online, I would read. And then when that did start to help him, I thought, that's pretty amazing. So on top of everything, I did a lot of research, and I just share my story with my friends. And not that I am not a doctor, and I'm not telling people to do that. I'm just saying I realized how much it helped him internally. I can imagine what's going on externally. And anyway, so then you just get a passion for whatever it is you're doing, The thing is, now I make soap, lotion, I make liquid soap, I do all kinds of stuff. And it really helps people with eczema, with psoriasis, and it's really the goat milk. And I think, and whatever you do in egg, as long as you have the passion for it and there's a reason behind it, you make it work. I mean, I have a pretty good business. But you really do have to find that niche. I mean, at least that's what I found, because that's my passion.
For sure. So Kara, how do you sell? So you guys sell beef and pork and eggs and chickens.
Yep.
How do you guys primarily, is it by the quarter, by the half, by the?
We do quarter, half, whole animals. Up until last September, we did the individual cuts, we did bundles. Sure. We did a monthly bundle that was super popular, that every month we did a bundle of a variety of cuts. It was always the same price, $110, and we would deliver it. We'd have, our customers, it was kind of, I modeled it after like an Amazon subscribe and sure. Click. And that was super popular. People liked the variety. We did brats for summer. But last September, our butcher went to custom exempt, and so we can no longer do individual cuts. So it was kind of a blessing in disguise, honestly, because now we just do quarter, half, whole animals, whole chickens and eggs. Otherwise, I was up till midnight, 1 a.m., pulling orders. You know, every weekend my kids are like, how many meat deliveries are we doing this weekend? You know, and they're 3 and 5, and so it's just like, you know, there's just always work. And so we just do quarter, half, whole animals now. Honestly, we make about the same profit margin, and it's a lot less work. You know, they submit their cut-off instructions to the butcher. I email them, you know, all the information, email them the invoice. They pick up the meat at the butcher. It's just, at first I'm like, how are we going to survive? This is such a big change for us, but it was kind of a blessing in disguise, because especially during the pandemic, it was absolutely crazy. And I had taken a new job at that point, and it was just, but it works for us. We don't have to hold the inventory anymore. So that's how we mainly sell. We mainly sell through word of mouth, Facebook, our Facebook page. One of my suggestions is don't rely solely on social media. Do an email newsletter. I did it all the time at Sassy Cow. I still have not set up one for Little Farmer Meats. It was like a goal this year, and I'm like, oh, it's pushing October, maybe before the end of the year. But that's, word of mouth has really been, referrals has really been how we sell. We've never done a farmer's market, luckily, just because I know I don't have the time. And so online has really been our main sales platform.
Yeah, we used to do the same thing, have some by the cuts as well, and it just, you think, like, oh, maybe I'll make a little bit more money, but then you're pulling orders, you're separating it, you're trying to, it's a lot, so it's easier just to do it that way. How do you mainly get the word out, Kim? Is it Facebook, website?
So it's a little bit different where I'm at in the product that I have too. But it started out when I first started making it was just family, and then it goes to family's friends, and then it goes to, it trickles down. And the Beloit Farmers Market actually, before COVID, you would have no idea, but they had 5,000 to 6,000 people every Saturday from 8 to 1. And it was absolutely amazing. I have people, I am busy all year round. I mean, I ship all over the United States. I have a store in California, 2 stores in Iowa. I have that buy my stuff. They just call and order it, and I'm like, okay, you can sell it for whatever you want, then go ahead. I have not gone out and solicited anything, just because I do have a full-time job. So it's a little bit different. Facebook does amazing for us, but I don't really have a lot of word of mouth. But I've been around a long time. I mean, I've been at the Beloit Farmers Market for 13 years. And then before that, I sold out of out of the farm, and it's just really word of mouth. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I'll ask the question, but I want to preface this with, we are not anyone that works in finance or tax or anything. So I'll ask the question because it's valid. I had the same thoughts when we started, right? At what point does what you're making and you're selling things for become an income versus extra cash? Is there sort of when did you decide that, especially Kara, when you guys just started a few years ago, to be Little Farmer Meats versus just selling sort of outright? When did you decide that an LLC or something was right for you guys?
We are actually not an LLC yet.
Oh, okay.
Our accountant's like, well, you could do it, but we are actually not an LLC. It's still on the list of things we could do. My husband farms, he does custom crop work, so he already does a Schedule F, and so all of our income from the meat business just goes on that Schedule F from his custom business. So I do like cash a lot though, because I do pay daycare with that. Yeah. So our daycare lady also likes that. So.
Mine's still all under the farm. I am an LLC. The farm is, because we do a lot. And when I stayed home for a few years with my youngest, I did a ton of tours of the farm. So we had school, especially we're in southern, right on the border. So we had a lot of the Beloit area schools that would come, and these kids had never, ever been on a farm, never, ever been out of Beloit. So we did a lot of that. So I felt like we needed, my husband didn't necessarily feel like we needed to be an LLC, but I was like, what if something, you never know. I get a little paranoid about stuff like that. So, I'm not at the point now, I mean, we were talking about writing a check for insurance, and I did that for a few years, and I'm like, yeah, I need to go back to work because, just writing that made you like, oh, I need a job that's got insurance. So, yeah, I'm not there yet. I guess, if I really did have manufacturing capacity, I'd give it a shot, but.
So when it comes to the year, what, whether it's how many, bottles of lotion or soap do you want to sell, or how many halves, quarters, wholes do you want to sell? How do you guys sort of go about setting your goals for the year? And what do you consider a success at that point?
We are actually limited kind of by like what we can get in for our butcher appointment. Sure. So we made all of our appointments for 2022 in March of this year. So our butcher, we have a very good working relationship with them. I'm like, I'll take 4 beef every month. And then with pigs, I was like, let's take 15 every month and we'll do these. And it's a total guess. So like for 2022, I scheduled for like 105 pigs. My husband's like, that's way too many. And so, you don't know, like we're coming out of the pandemic year where everything I had I could sell. So we're limited really by our butcher appointment. And like during the pandemic and last year, we used 5 different butchers. If you win our gift pack, you'll notice there's labels from I think 4 different butchers in there, just because we had to use so many to try to meet demand. So that's really kind of what we're limited by. So our goals are kind of like sell everything through all of our appointments and grow that way. So
yeah, and I'm sure you had a waiting list and things too.
Yep. Last year we did, and this year it's kind of swung back to normal, and so it's like, am I going to sell all these pigs? And so it's the ebb and flow of it all. We're in Watertown.
Oh, Watertown. Okay.
So, but we went to Baraboo, we went to Darien, we went to, Swords. It's like we drive a lot. So.
Kim, how do you guys set goals?
Well, that's a good question. I don't know about setting goals. I don't look at it as I need to make this much and sell these many jars of lotion or this many bars of soap. I guess what I go by is every time I do inventory. So then I look at what I did last year at this week and, at the farmer's market versus this. Or, at Christmas, farmer's market goes till the end of October, the last Saturday of October. And then starting in November, I only do 2 shows. I do 1 show in Milwaukee and 1 show in Belvedere. And I really look at what I did the year before in that same week. And I have increased every year, since I started tracking it. So that's a good thing. Yeah. But I don't sit down, I have to do that at my job. I do make sure that that I'm increasing and I'm not going the opposite way, but I don't sit and make goals.
Yeah, that's okay.
My husband, when I was like, here's some of the questions, do you have anything you want to add?
Yeah.
He's like, well, you should tell them to have goals and have a long-term plan, because we don't have that. And to be honest, it's like every year it's like, okay, we'll take whatever appointments we can get and sell that. But like sometimes we kind of lack the long-term vision of where do we want this to go. So
well, I know my husband always gets a little panicky when our next appointment isn't until May. We just have 1 appointment a year for beef, and he was like, do you have all those sold yet? And I said, we have 7, 8 months. Like, I'm not worried about it. It'll be just fine.
Yeah, we'll be good.
That's my long-term plan. Don't worry about it. I do have a couple other questions, but I want to open it up to you guys. So I don't know exactly what all of your plans are. If you guys are on direct farm-to-market plans at your operations, what you have going on. If there are questions you want to ask specific about, something that you guys have going on at home, I'll open it up. If anyone has any questions, otherwise I'll keep going. Yeah, Kristen.
It's pretty much for Kara. We sell quarters and halves and wholes sometimes. We have a lot of customers on Facebook that want to just buy hamburger and because they don't have the freezer capacity. Do you see there's like a market for that, or?
Hamburger is like the easiest,
Right.
nicest thing to sell because it's just so convenient. So we did sell a lot of hamburger before when we could do individual cuts. We do have one restaurant customer in Fort Atkinson that does take hamburger for us, but right now it's like I'm calling every single processor and like, can I just get on a last minute waiting list to just get like a hamburger cow in or steer in to do hamburgers. So I would say, and especially now that the hamburger price is climbing in the store, I get emails at least once a week. So my advice on that is make sure you are higher than the store, because I see people on Facebook all the time that are like $4.50, and I'm like, do you know what hamburger is in the store? Like, charge more than the store. So, but yes, it's a good market.
And since you brought up the restaurant, can you talk about like building that relationship or how you started that?
We were lucky. There's a restaurant in Fort Atkinson, not far from us, that they really believe in like buying locally. We did work with one a few years ago, and I think it was more that we could meet the price, and we wanted the exposure and we wanted the business, and so we did it. And then we were in it for a while and we penciled it out. And we're like, this does not make any sense. Like, we were trying to do everything, be everywhere, and it was not a good decision for us. But the restaurant in Fort Atkinson, they're very like, they want to support local. They're very genuine about it, and they actually reached out to us. And so, but I think it was a Facebook. They're very active on Facebook. We are too, and so it was kind of easy for us. It was an easy sell because she approached us. So, and we started with we raised some Wagyu, and it started off as doing a special burger every week. And it was so they could pay more for it because it was a special. And now with the beef price and supply issues, they've been using our ground beef exclusively. But I just hope that we can find enough appointments to inspected appointments to fill it. So, but yeah, I would say sell as much. And ground beef is like kind of a good entryway into to sell quarters, halves. So.
Yeah, Renee.
Curious on the different processors that you're using, do you ever see that there's inconsistency and then have feedback from customers that it's not the beef that they had last time?
Yep, we've had 1 or 2 complaints. And I wrote down like a list of things I'm like, don't forget to talk about, because I'll get up here and I'll forget. And one of them was like during the pandemic, like I was taking appointments at whatever processor I could get, and some of them I'm like, I know this is not a good fit for us. Like, they don't have very good customer service. Like, I really don't want, and you probably could think of one that I'm speaking of by that laugh. I don't really want to use them, but they had availability. Well, there's a reason they have availability. And so, some of them do such a great job with packaging or the cuts, and then some of them don't have good customer service. So it's kind of this balancing act. So like when our butcher went to custom exempt, we stuck with them because they have really good customer service. We like their packaging. We have a really good working relationship with them. So it's there's definitely a difference out there. I know they all can't find help, and so I know that's a problem too. But I think if you find a good butcher, especially in the direct market business, you got to stick with them. When our butcher comes, I make cookies or some baked good every time because I want them to like call us first when they have an appointment, or to have that good relationship, because we're so dependent on them. Like, we couldn't do our business without them. Mm-hmm. So.
And when you say custom exempt, what is that? That's a new term. I haven't heard that before.
So it's still inspected, but we cannot do. It's just how, like, they don't have an inspector there. Like, state inspected, federally inspected is like there's an inspector there every time they slaughter, do everything. Custom exempt, like, so they actually come out to the farm and do it, and there's not an inspector present. But so they technically the person I sell the quarter to, they buy the animal live, and then they pick up the meat, and so it's just because of the risk of it not being inspected all the time. So.
Okay, very good. What else do we have? Other questions? Yeah, keep going.
Another one. With your soaps, you've been doing it for 13 years, and people kind of get accustomed to a certain price point. How have you adjusted your prices over the years with like keeping your customers, satisfied?
Yeah.
But you probably have a little increased cost on your end.
Yeah, that's a good question, and hopefully my husband's not listening because here's the thing, when I started doing it, my whole thing was I wanted people to know about goat milk. I wanted them to know how if you bake with it, if you use it on your cereal or you whatever, and if you use it on your skin, I wanted them to know about it. So I started out really low, and so probably for the last 8 years, I have not increased my rates. And I do that because I want them to come back and keep using it because it's so important, And kids have, acne and they have eczema so bad. And I have so many kids that they will run to our, and say, there's the soap lady, or the goat lady or whatever. But that's because their parents can actually afford to get it. And the thing is, if you sell a bar of soap, so I sell them, I sell them for $4 a bar or 4 for $15, okay? Usually they're $5 to $6 a piece, and they're usually 3-ounce bars if you really look at them. And here's the thing, I'm still making a profit on it. Every year I'm like, okay, January 1st, I should up it. But it's so easy, I know, and I think I should. But again, this isn't my livelihood, okay? I can do this if I want to do that. But, it just makes sense.
How have you guys adjusted? Because obviously, even last summer, we were pricing our beef on $3.50 a bushel corn, and then suddenly it's $7, and your profit margin disappears quickly when that happens. So how did you guys adjust?
We are like Kim, and we are, even though at my day job, I'm like, you guys as farmers have to charge more. Like, don't feel bad about charging at my day job. That's what I say.
Yes.
Yeah.
And even when I was at Sassy Cow, I'm like, we have to put in the line for pain and suffering pricing here because there's there's pricing and you got to put it in there. And so we have not raised our price since last year, and we really should. And I think January 1, we're probably going to go up maybe because we sell on hanging weight, so we do $2.75 a pound for hanging weight for beef. So maybe we go up to $3 a pound for hanging weight. And for a while we were booked out so far. It's like, okay, when are we gonna do the price increase? Well, now it's like things have slowed down. I'm sold through November, so maybe like January 1. Anything I sell, we do that. So it's the same thing. Like we haven't raised our price. We did on like whole chickens. Like don't like raising them. The processing's expensive. So like we raised the price on those this year, but it's like. You feel bad because for us too, it's like, I want people to be able to afford it, and I get it, it's a big investment, so we haven't raised our price. But I think January 1, we'll probably go up like a quarter. So